It's that time of week. Time to see who's in and who's out for the space game between Houston and UCF.
You are Locked On UCF, your daily podcast on the UCF Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On UCF, your daily UCF podcast. I'm your host, Mike G. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of every single day. Turn us on, turn us up, we'll turn it out. I'm here with my good friend, James Duncan, UCF sports commentator extraordinaire, to talk a little UCF football here on a Wednesday night. James, it's that time of week. The Big 12 releases their injury report at 10 p.m. every single night. So we go live around 10:30 to talk about who's in and who's out for each team. Today's show is brought to you by our title sponsor, FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Head on over to FanDuel.com today. New customers getting $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel, get in the game with FanDuel. Let's jump right in. In and out. Who's in and who's out? We'll start with Houston today. Out for Houston is wide receiver Devin Williams, wide receiver Marquise Shoulders, linebacker Christian Braithwaite, wide receiver Jashawn Ridgel, tight end Treville Frederick Jr., and Quindario Lee, all out for the Cougars. On the questionable list, D lineman Carlos Allen Jr. and probable Will James and running back Stacy Sneed. Talk to me before we started recording. We talked a little bit about Carlos Allen Jr. Looks like that might be a little bit of a significant loss for the Cougars in terms of production on Saturday.
Yeah, no, if Carlos Allen isn't there on Friday, you're in pretty good hands. He is someone that is their second team leading tackler. He's the first team leading tackler on the D line. He is helping your sack number. He's helping your passes deflected number. He's a guy that likes to get up and disrupt the quarterback. Will definitely be a big loss for the Cougars if he does not show up on Friday dressed out. Some of the guys on the probable list are, I believe, can we pop that list back up, Mike?
Yeah.
We've got guys like Will James, who's in the 2 deep for DBs. He's also helping with quite a few tackles. He's had one of the few interceptions that Houston has had this year, in which he returned for a pick 6. And then running back Stacy Sneed is basically their RB2 in terms of carries, kind of a split carry share there between him and DJ Butler, both with 33 and 28 respectively. But their lead guy is going to be Dean Connors, who we've got today. But that's most of the injuries for Houston. Most of their guys that are out coming into this game are not in football terms, really big hitters, guys that aren't really going to make a massive impact on whether this is a winning or a losing Houston team this week against the UCF Knights.
Let's jump on over to the Knights. James out for the Knights. No surprise, Cam Fincher, he was out last week. Caden Peening, he's been out for a few weeks. Stacey Gage, we know, had surgery. Jaden Williams also been out multiple weeks now. So no surprises there on who's out for the Knights, but questionable wide receiver Marcus Burke, potential loss in some production there. Wide receiver Jordan Bridgewater and Thomas Wadsworth, tight end, doubtful. So questionable Marcus Burke. I would like to see Marcus go on Saturday. You need to win this game, and you need every piece in that wide receiver room, I think, potentially making plays for you.
Yeah, you definitely felt the loss of Marcus Burke against Baylor when you felt like you really needed someone to just air it out to. Unfortunately, he was on the sideline for you. Hopefully, he is good to go this game. I do think that Jordan Bridgewater probably got a little banged up during practice. I'm not sure if that was during the game late in Baylor garbage time. I didn't see him play, so I'm assuming that can only be tossed up to a practice injury. But he's also not someone that's, a huge impact injury as of this this current 2025 year. Maybe somebody that breaks out for you in the future, but definitely not this year. And then you've got guys that are on your out list like Stacy, who we know had surgery. Jaden Williams, I still have not identified what that injury is. I'm trying to get information on what that is because he's been out basically after making, one or two really impactful games this year at the start of the year, has basically been a no-show for the Knights in terms of being available off the injury list. So definitely someone that you probably wish you would have had this season. The defense has done really well in covering up that hole that he has unfortunately not been able to be there for. But definitely interesting to see that he is still on the out list. I think guys that you would regularly be seeing on the out list are guys that are out but are hopeful to come back at some point during the season. Guys like Sincere Edwards not on that list because they're out for the rest of the season. Guys like Horace Lockett are not on that list because they're out for the rest of the season. But definitely interesting what names are being put on there, Mike.
Yeah, look, how would you rate the Knights in terms of health so far this season? I would say they've had, some impactful injuries, but essentially it comes down to strength and conditioning and how well you get these guys prepared for the rigors of a Big 12 schedule. I think they've done all right. The quarterback injuries, they kind of did a little bit of a dipsy do there. Taven got hurt at one point. Cam got hurt at one point. Taven's back. Cam is still hurt. But every injury hurts more when this roster is not where you want it to be. So, we've talked about, again, kind of going back to our outlets here, we're talking about Jaden Williams being out and missing that playmaker in the secondary, that guy that can just go and bat a pass down or grab an interception. He would have been one of the more premier players in this conference had he been healthy. I don't think they've done terrible with injuries this year, but certainly it feels like every injury has seemed more impactful so far.
Yeah, definitely. I think attrition at this point in the year has actually, I don't know. I would say it hasn't been easy to deal with. Guys like Jaden Williams, Horace Lockett, Sincere Edwards, those are all guys that were, guys that were in your two deep to start the year and then moved into your actually some sort of starting role in some capacity. Horace Lockett actually started a few games. So did Sincere Edwards. But these were guys that were playing just as many snaps as the starters. Just they were used in different situations. Same thing with Jaden Williams. And so, you look at that, that's three guys on the year that are now probably most likely out for the year. And haven't really been able to make an impact because they are sidelined due to injury. That's just on the defense. You got 3 out of 11 guys on the defense that are injured that you would have really liked to have had for the rest of the year. Obviously the quarterback carousel that is the University of Central Florida is definitely difficult to deal with, having been a fan for many years. I think you are tired of seeing 4 quarterbacks a year play for your Knights. So, it's definitely difficult in terms of injury. It feels like every single time one of the guys gets settled, they go down. And so definitely interesting to see. You haven't really had your big hitters on offense, go down, which I pray that stays that way. Guys like Miles and Jaden and Dwayne Thomas and some of the younger guys like Waded and Carl Jenkins. And so you hope that those guys can stay healthy, but guys like, Dylan Wade have appeared on the injury report throughout this season. Guys like Caden Peening have been on the injury report, and Marcus Burke have been on the injury report. Thomas Wadsworth has been on the injury report. So, definitely the typical attrition and injury problems throughout this point in the season. But nothing that I would say you're not typically used to as a UCF fan.
Yeah, look, we're going to get to our break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the quarterback on the other side, Connor Wegman, the former Texas A&M Aggie. He will be quarterbacking the Cougars. He brings a better than 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio into this game. Can UCF slow him down? That might be the key to the game. We'll talk about that next on Locked On UCF. This episode of Locked On UCF is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Guys, the NBA is back, and that means lots of great action for you guys and for us here. There's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score to the next fourth quarter comeback. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a bigger shot at a payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Connor Wegman, we've got to stop Connor Wegman. I don't want to see another quarterback duel off here. Taven Jackson coming off what I would characterize as a poor game. And it's tough for me because defense has been what UCF has done well this season. And we knew that there would be some trials and tribulations on the offensive side of the ball, James, but I did not expect to see the type of effort that we saw, or results, I should say, that we saw from the defense as we did against Baylor here. Talk to me about what you see with Connor Wegman here in this matchup. As again, the numbers don't really blow you away with Wegman, right? Like so far this year, he's thrown 10 touchdowns to I think maybe 4 interceptions. Here he's a 67% completion percentage guy, only 1,200 yards though. And I don't know, man. I go back and forth on this with Wegman. He is a real boomer bust kind of guy to me. But I think UCF has a chance to really slow him down here. Like their offense is averaging less than 400 yards a game, man. They're in the bottom fourth of the Big 12 here in total offensive production. But because of a super easy schedule, they sit at 7-2 right now. Like, James, hear me out, man. That schedule is Charmin 2-ply soft. Here for Houston. Listen to this schedule, man. Like, I don't even know what to do with this here. I have my guy Parker Ainsworth on. We did a crossover this morning, and he admitted that the schedule was easy. SF Austin, Rice, Colorado, Oregon State. They played Texas Tech. They lost that game 35-11. Oklahoma State. Everybody's beating up on Oklahoma State. Arizona, they squeaked by 3 points. Now, they did beat Arizona State 24-16, and then they lost to West Virginia last week 45-35. They gave up 45 points to West Virginia. UCF absolutely destroyed West Virginia, and they close out their schedule, UCF, TCU, Baylor. I mean, this was a pretty favorable schedule for them. I'm not sure how good they are or aren't at 7-2.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a rude awakening coming in for a UCF space game. You're going into not only what I would consider a relatively difficult environment for just any away game, but you're coming into the bounce house on a space game. You're not playing the Knights, you're playing the Citronauts. And the Citronauts are undefeated. I don't want to make any bold claims quite yet. Especially sitting at 4-4. I don't want to, not give any credit to what Houston has done. Connor Wegman with, 16 touchdowns in the air, 4 interceptions. And then I'm looking at 9 touchdowns on the ground. He's carried the ball for just over 300 yards this year at around 100 carries, looking at 3.3 yards a carry. But like you said, he's a very boomer bust guy. His longest run is 50. that's holding up that average number right there. So you're not looking at a ton of really big, read option carries or that kind of thing that you might have seen with, Avery Johnson or Jaden Daniels, or a guy that can really get you sneaking out of the pocket because you don't expect him to, like Sawyer Robertson did last game. I think your defense is going to be what really needs to show in this game. And I think it's just another situation of, is your offense going to be able to give your defense rest? That was one of the situations that we talked about before Baylor, about a way that Baylor could take advantage of this UCF team. And that is if time of possession was favored in Baylor's favor. And you definitely saw that for the Baylor Bears against the UCF Knights. I think it was very difficult to watch a team just not be able to get anything done and constantly have turnovers on downs, or having to punt the ball or settle for three, or like settle for a 53 or 54-yard field goal for Noe Rulas. It's difficult to watch your team not being able to get the cogs turning. That's something that you had to unfortunately see last Saturday. Hopefully your team can possess the ball a little more comfortably this week against Houston's defense.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, we've seen UCF dominate time of possession versus some teams that are, let's be honest, better than them. We saw them do it versus Cincinnati. I wonder if they can't pull off some version of that versus Houston at home. Now, this is a game that UCF has never lost. They've never lost a space game, and we're putting a lot of stock in that. But there are first times for everything. I mean, they broke a long-standing streak in losing to West Virginia this year, so that was a positive one. But you certainly don't want to start a negative one here and losing a space game for the first time. We talked about this earlier this week, but I want to touch on it again with you. This game is vital if UCF wants to make a bowl game in year one, because I think you'll get Oklahoma State. But if you drop this game, you got to beat Texas Tech or BYU on the road to get to a bowl game. And there's value in making a bowl game in year one. Those early enrollees potentially get into bowl practice, right? In December. The extra practices, the extra football, this team can use that. So, how confident are you, before we move on, that UCF is going to be able to get this done and get to a bowl game?
Yeah, I think if you don't, I don't even want to put out there that you don't win this game. I think I get enough flack for saying that we're gonna win games that we don't end up winning. But I think it's funny, the Vegas books are looking at a 7-2 team versus a 4-4 team that just got beat up by another 4-4 team in the Baylor Bears. And they're looking at these two teams play each other, and they're going, it should only be a 2.5 spread, which really is, really tight for this game. The ESPN matchup predictor says 60.4% UCF. That's, I don't know. That thing's been right all year long in terms of when it's favorable, we win. And so I think it's rather interesting to note that ESPN and the Vegas sports books believe a little bit in that space game magic for UCF. And so I think you have to hope that you go out there and you get it done, and you get it done handedly, so that you can rock into these last 3 games of the season feeling a little bit more comfortable. If you don't get any wins on the road this season, that you feel like you can bring home this game in Oklahoma State, Mike.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch here. Look, the over-under on this game, 47.5. I've gone back and forth about whether this will be a high-scoring affair or a low-scoring affair. I think they may score more points in this one than people think.
Yes.
I think they may score. Like I actually and I haven't taken the over much this year on UCF, but I think I'm taking the over at 47.5. Now the spread opened at 2.5. It has moved to 1.5 here. In with Houston being a slight favorite, but this is practically a coin flip kind of game. I want to say predictions for we have a Friday night game this week. So we've got to we'll be live post game certainly on Friday night. But talk to me about what kind of game you expect to see here. I think that this game might be in the 30s for both teams.
Yeah, I mean, I really wouldn't be surprised if I'm honest. This game, at least for the Knights, has always been relatively high scoring. In years where we like really struggle on offense. Oh, this spread just moved, Mike.
Did it?
It just moved to 1.5.
Yeah.
That's smaller. Okay, so yeah, I'm interested. I actually I think the Knots, they have this entire total at 47.5 for points. And I think you taking the over is the right move. I don't actually remember the last time that like UCF themselves didn't put up in the 40s or more in this game. They had 40 something against Arizona last year, 40 something I think 40 something against Oklahoma State the previous year, who was ranked number 15 coming in. They had 70 against Temple the previous year. They had a myriad of points against Memphis the previous year. So this is a usually high flying, insane magical game for the FTU Citronauts, also known as your UCF Knights. I think that you might see some magic. I would be surprised if this wasn't a high scoring game, even just from your Knights.
Yeah, look, I have this weird feeling that these teams are going to explode offensively, and we could see a little bit of a shootout here. Guys, trust me here. Take the over. Take the over if you're betting this one at 47.5. Again, that spread closed down here. I think we see something wacky. I can see UCF winning this in some kind of wacky way. It's going to be fun to watch here. UCF Black and Gold says, this year I only trust ESPN matchup predictor. It's been right all year for us, 60.4%. UCF bounced back in the bounce house in the space game. Moon bounce time Friday. We get Friday night football. Our guy Isaac Carry On says, hopefully Houston has a problem. I love that. I heard it as I was saying it.
Yeah.
Houston, we have a problem.
You're gonna see a whole bunch of signs this week at the game. It's gonna be a good time.
It's going to be so much fun. Go Knights here. I want to thank everybody for joining our Wednesday night live stream to talk a little UCF football. We updated you guys on the injury report. We'll be back with a pregame show tomorrow, since we have a Friday night game. So that'll be tomorrow night, or it'll be Friday morning. And then, of course, we'll have our post-game show where we'll be live. Tell a friend, come join us. Hopefully we're all celebrating together UCF's 5th win, one step closer to a bowl game in Scott Frost's first year. James Duncan, UCF sports commentator, I want to thank you for joining me on today's show. Guys, thank you so much for making Locked On UCF your first listen of every day. We'll be back at you guys tomorrow with more Locked On UCF.